Hey everyone, welcome to Wrestling Hangouts episode number 3. I am being joined by good old JM, Jeff Meacham. How are you doing today, Jeff? Or tonight, I should say. It is very late.
And tonight, it's late for us. Even on the West Coast, it's late. I'm doing very well. I actually wore this shirt to watch the fights. I was representing while I was watching the fights, and it was awesome.
Very cool. And you're representing No DQ here on this video. I appreciate that. So UFC 200 just wrapped up, and hopefully Mike Nagel will be joining us in a few minutes to give us his thoughts on the pay-per-view. But I'll go ahead and start with you, Jeff. What did you think of this pay-per-view overall from start to finish?
Well, I ended up watching the prelims on FS1 as well. So we got to Buffalo Wild Wings, which I was told you went to as well in a different location of the country. We got there about 5 o'clock and got our table set up, and we watched the whole thing. And from start to finish, it was an awesome show, I thought, as far as the build-up. Now, execution-wise, I feel the preliminary fights delivered much more so than the pay-per-view fights. Because the women's bantamweight prelim fight, Juliana and Kat, was unbelievable. Kat surprised me that she lost, but Kat's they're an age and she's lost a few times to Ronda, so whatever. But the fight that really surprised me was TJ Dillashaw and Raphael, I forgot how to say his name, and I apologize for that. That bantamweight fight was kick-ass on the prelims. I thought the whole prelims card was awesome. Getting into the main card, well, overall, I guess the prelims delivered better for me than the main card, except for the 2 fights we all came to see.
Right. So let's talk about the Brock Lesnar fight, because that's what most people are watching this video for, our thoughts on the Brock Lesnar fight. Brock Lesnar victorious over Mark Hunt. So the gamble by WWE to allow Brock Lesnar to do this fight has definitely paid off. WWE got several mentions on this show. They showed an advertisement for the SummerSlam match between Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton. And also there was a commercial complete with an introduction by Chuck Liddell, apparently reading from a cue card. That was pretty funny. There was a commercial for WWE 2K17, of course, with Brock Lesnar on the cover. And to top it all off, Brock Lesnar was successful in his return to UFC, which will no doubt help WWE. WWE definitely gained from Brock Lesnar doing this fight when everything was all said and done. So I'll ask you, Jeff, what did you think of the Brock Lesnar fight? Did he exceed your own personal expectations?
Well, people out there in internet land tend to view me as they view JBL as a wrestling god, so to speak. And people always ask me for my clairvoyant perception of everything. And I could tell, sitting in my booth at Buffalo Wild Wings, there were 2 things I could hear in my psychic thoughts. I could hear the collective cries of screaming of joy of every wrestling fan around the world that has been ridiculed for thinking that wrestling is better than MMA, because a wrestler, a guy that started as a wrestler and went to UFC and dominated, and then came back to wrestling and has kicked royal ass for 4 years and been out of the octagon for over 5 years, went back into the octagon and dominated this guy who has been talking shit for a month. To see Mark Hunt, that little Samoan little bobble that he was, just get dominated for 3 straight rounds. It was awesome.
Well, yeah.
Now,
go ahead.
Some people say the middle round was an even fight, but when you get your ass handed to you that bad in round 1, there's nothing you can do to play defense in round 2. Just try to get your ass to recover.
Yeah, and I think Brock's strategy, of course, was to avoid getting punched in the face and try to take Mark Hunt down, which he did successfully in the first round. And then the second round, yeah, it was pretty uneventful, and I think maybe Brock was just trying to stall until the 3rd round, and then the 3rd round he really went for it and got him down again and was able to keep him down for that 3rd round and then won by unanimous decision. So, yeah, Brock looked really impressive in this fight. He came back, and this is great for him because he left UFC on a down note, and he was having the health issues, and now he's able to come back and triumph in the octagon, and he's on top of the world right now. So I don't know if you read on ODQ yet, but he got paid a guaranteed $2.5 million, which is more than double the record for a UFC fighter getting paid. I believe the record was Conor McGregor getting around $1 million earlier this year. So Brock Lesnar got a huge payday for this, and that's not including all the different bonuses from sponsorships and other things that Brock Lesnar will be getting. I mean, he is going to be getting a ton of money from this fight, and really more money in the months to come, not just with SummerSlam. You know, WWE has him under contract, but you know that UFC is going to want Brock for another fight, and it's just a matter of how much money, not just for Brock, but for WWE as well, and what will WWE get in return for allowing Brock to do another fight in UFC. I mean, this is really huge for Brock Lesnar financially. I think you would agree on that, would you?
This is huge for all of us. This is huge for Brock Lesnar. This is huge for him because he's going to now be under contract with Vince McMahon for however long he's re-signed for. And Vince is going to be able to loan him out whenever Dana gets a hair up his ass for a huge attraction fight in the octagon. And Dana's going to pay Vince what Vince wants him to pay him to get Brock under contract for a fight, and then Dana's going to pay Brock out the ass like he did tonight. Now, keep in mind, I found something very funny. I saw your post about the paydays for tonight, and I noticed that Cain Velasquez, the guy that you sat in the crowd and watched hand Lesnar his ass, got paid like less than a third of what Brock made tonight.
And he was in the first fight of the night. He was in the Chris Benoit role.
Well, what's funny is I said from the beginning that Cain's fight would be the quickest fight of the night. And other than the preliminary fight that was on the UFC Fight Pass, I was totally incorrect because actually all three of the prelim fights on the UFC Fight Pass were under 5 minutes in the first round. But of the main attraction fights, I figured, okay, I bet Cain, because Cain is coming back after being gone for a while. He's trend up, he's leaner, and he wants to go out there and kick somebody out. And he punched the shit out of Travis Browne tonight in round one. And I figured, okay, there's no way any fight on the main card is going to be quicker than that. And then Amanda Nunes just go out and just beats the shit out of Miesha Tate, which I love because I can't stand Miesha Tate. But anyway, Brock Lesnar benefits from this. Vince McMahon is going to benefit from this because Vince McMahon is the evil genius that he is. And now we all know Dana White's an evil genius too. So the two evil geniuses are going to come together and start making our heads go.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Wrestling fans are going to benefit because we're going to feel like we can fit in with these MMA geeks and go to their shows wearing Brock Lesnar t-shirts and go, yeah, that's my guy. He was with me first, but now he's kind of with you guys, so we can sit next to each other and root for Brock Lesnar, because the first time people saw Brock Lesnar win a fight, he was an overbearing, arrogant prick when he won that fight, because he talked about the wrong beer sponsor, he talked about jumping his wife's bones after the fight, and he was a douche. Tonight, he went out there, he was respectful, he was a good little farm boy, he talked about patriotism, he talked about America uniting, and he shook the guy's hand and gave the guy a hug.
Yeah, it was a different Brock Lesnar from what we saw in the past. You know, I remember that one post-fight interview where he said he's going to hop on top of his wife or some crap like that. This was a different Brock Lesnar, definitely more humble. And, you know, it's great for him because, you know, it feels like he lost a lot of his stock in WWE over the past year or so. You know, really since WrestleMania 31, he just hasn't felt like the attraction that he once was. And this is going to, once again, make him a huge attraction in WWE. And that SummerSlam match is going to be incredible in terms of the hype and the excitement for that. Not just Brock Lesnar being at his level, but now we have Randy Orton coming back from his injury, and there's going to be a lot of intrigue about that match. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, you know, before this fight, I said, win or lose, I expect Brock to win at SummerSlam. And we still have a lot of time until SummerSlam to see how the storyline plays out. I still think Brock will win because I think there's more value in having somebody who's on the rise in WWE beat Brock Lesnar, beat the guy that won his UFC comeback fight, and of course beat the Undertaker's streak. What do you think about the outcome of SummerSlam? Do you think Randy Orton has a chance here?
Well, regarding the outcome, I gotta believe. See, my dad and I were talking about this at length in the car rides to and from various places, including tonight. And I'm of two minds because Randy Orton is too big a name in WWE to come back after being gone for almost a year and lose at a major pay-per-view. However, there's arguably no bigger name in WWE right now than Brock Lesnar.
Right.
Especially after the last couple hours.
Exactly.
Brock Lesnar submitted. He is what the Undertaker has claimed to be for 20 years. He is the top dog in the yard right now.
Absolutely.
Write his own. He can write his own ticket. He can write his card in a time machine and go back 25 years and beat Andre the Giant if he wants to. Okay, seriously, that's how big Brock Lesnar is right now. If he wants to do that. And the sad part is, I was reading the tweets and the posts and everything, we won't get a huge response out of the Lesnar camp on Monday if they go with code, because Heyman's in the United Kingdom.
Right. Well, they waited till after Battleground before they start building up the SummerSlam main event. Although, it might be a good idea to capitalize on this UFC thing when it's fresh and have Brock Lesnar appear right on Monday Night Raw this coming Monday with Paul Heyman, and maybe bring Orton back on Monday to set up the match. I mean, you could make that argument that now's the time to strike the iron when it's hot rather than wait a couple of weeks. In a couple of weeks, things will start to cool down a little bit.
What I would do if I were in Titan Tower Monday morning, or even tomorrow morning if they work on Sundays because Vince McMahon's fucking crazy, is I would write a scenario similar to Steve Austin's, so to speak, in 2000. And Steve Austin was a free agent during the draft. He did not sign with either brand during the draft or the draft lottery. He came to Raw the following week and chose his own destiny. Right. Because he was on vacation, he walked off the job and they had to do something. Brock, they can do it legitimately. They can have Brock go, well, let's see, I just owned a UFC fighter who's ranked number 8 in the world in my division. I owned his ass on Saturday night. So I tell you guys what brand I want to end up on after this little draft party you're having next week.
Yeah, exactly. Because
I would do, because there's no reason that there needs to be a bidding war for Brock Lesnar, because either side is gonna hand him money hand over fist. I would have Brock go, I will survey the land, my children, and then we will decide where I go. And Paul Heyman can do his whole Paul Heyman thing. But what I would do is find a way to keep Lesnar and Heyman and Orton out of this draft nonsense, out of the whole spiel of all that, and just focus on our resident columnist for No DQ, your buddy and mine, Kayfabe Candy Ass, put a very important tweet out that I wanted to point out to you. I don't know if you saw it or not. The best thing they can do right now with Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton is do exactly what they do in the UFC, and that is nothing. Let the fight build itself. You don't need to write a storyline where there's all this convoluted shit going back and forth for the next 5 or 6 weeks, whatever it is. Just let them cut a couple promos, speak their piece. I'm the best in the world. I proved it in the Octagon. I proved it in college. Now I'm proving in WWE again. Have Randy go, well, that's great. I'm a 14-time, whatever the hell, how many times champion he's been. And just let them show up in Brooklyn and just freaking fight.
Yeah, I mean, a similar formula to follow might be what they did for SummerSlam 2013 with CM Punk and Brock Lesnar, the best versus the beast, and just promoting it like a real fight. I think that might be the best way to go with this, and really make it feel like it's a big fight by just having them come out, cut promos on each other, and, this battle just to see who the best is. It's really best to just keep it simple, I think.
And the key thing is, as sweet and humble pie as Brock sounded tonight, we don't need that Brock Lesnar in a WWE ring. We need the ass-kicking machine beast. We need the guy that needs to just stand there and do his little Lesnar shuffle and have Heyman go out there and spit the rhetoric.
No, that. Paul Heyman's going to come out on Raw and just completely gloat and brag about how dominant Brock Lesnar is, and there's nobody in UFC or WWE that can handle him. and then you'll hear Randy Orton's music play, and you'll have that stare down. And that's really all you need is just a stare down between the two of them, and you'll get the crowd pumped up and excited for SummerSlam. So yeah, like you said, keep it simple, and
I mean,
sometimes less is more.
I mean, seriously, let's take a look at the big fights we've had in WWE the last half decade or so, and compare the buildups. When you had Lesnar Undertaker, you had goofy contract signings and over-the-top promos, and it built the match, but it almost felt like it was too much build. There was just too much hokiness and stupidity going on. And the match delivered to a certain extent because it shocked the world. Comparing that to 3 years prior, when The Undertaker, having been gone for over a year, walked out by himself on whatever that date was. They had the freaking Johnny Cash song playing. He walked down to the ring, didn't even get to say a word. And then Triple H comes back after a year because Sheamus whooped his ass. Ring, didn't say a word. And then all of a sudden, they both look at WrestleMania sign, don't say a word. Hey, Mike. And they both just look at the sign, and that's the build. And they didn't say more than 5 words to each other the next 5 weeks.
Holy crap, Jeff. The video and your voice are so totally out of sync, so I'm not sure if that's going to be a problem on the final video. Hopefully not.
It probably will.
I did hear you, so as long as we can hear you, that's what's important. So anyways, we have Mike Nagel here. He is moving his mouth, but unless he's messing with me right now. Mike, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so Mike, we were talking about the card, so we'll go ahead and get your opinion. What did you think of the UFC card overall from start to finish?
I thought it was boring. I really did. I was really disappointed. I think it was the most overhyped UFC card that did not deliver in the slightest.
Now, Jeff said he thought the prelim fights were better than the main card. Would you agree on that?
It depends which prelim fights we're talking about. There were fights on Fight Pass, there were fights on FS1, and then there was the main event pay-per-view card.
I meant the fights on Fox Sports 1. I didn't see the Fight Pass card, so I don't know.
Fight Pass, the 3 fights on Fight Pass were exciting, they were dynamic, and they were probably the 3 best fights of the night.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't blown.
All I saw.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Go ahead, Aaron. No, go ahead, Aaron. You're okay.
I was just gonna say I was not blown away by most of the fights. I mean, I'm not a UFC follower. The fight that I was most excited for was by far the Brock Lesnar fight.
Right.
That's the only reason I was watching. I thought it was good, but
here's the coolest moment of the prelims though on FS1. If we're gonna talk about FS1, there's a kid named Sage Northcutt who Dana White is prepping to be the face of the company. And he got put in a really slick armbar, and he worked his way out of the armbar. And he's a guy like John Cena where everybody wants to hate him because he's a good-looking kid who is very good at what he does. He's very polarizing, I guess you could say. But the kid's got skills. He's the youngest signed fighter in the UFC at age 20, and he got out of what looked like to be a really tight Alberto Del Rio-style armbar. He wriggled his arm up, so it was like a north position where he could have torn his rotator cuff, worked his way through, got out of the submission, and wound up winning the fight. And that was pretty damn amazing.
Yeah, that kid impressed me, and I saw how old he was. I'm like, okay, he's, whatever it is, 6 fights in at 20 years old. He's been fighting since he was a freaking fetus.
Pretty much.
All right, Mike, so let's talk about the main card real quick. Your overall thoughts on each fight.
Well, I predicted what would happen in that first fight with Cain Velasquez and Travis Browne, didn't I?
Yeah, I saw your Facebook message on that. You were right about that.
I caught that one perfect. As far as the Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar fight, I was right about that, except who the winner was going to be. I predicted it was going to be a 5-round war. Not really the war I expected, but it was a decent fight nonetheless. Jose Aldo returning to top form since being knocked out in 13 seconds by Conor McGregor. He looks to have all the ring rust out, and it was a decent fight. And then we had Daniel Cormier and Anderson Silva, which another one I predicted where Cormier was going to get the unanimous decision. But it was so boring. The crowd was booing him so bad the whole fight. Because all he was doing was taking down Anderson Silva and laying on top of him. He wasn't even doing anything.
Yeah, it was not the most exciting fight to watch.
Well, you know, they were gonna boo that fight no matter what, and it's neither one of those guys' fault that fight was gonna get booed. John Jones won that fucked up.
Yeah.
No, everybody loves Anderson Silva. If it would have been a stand-up war, the crowd would have felt like they got their money's worth. But when someone's just laying on top of like one of the greatest considered fighters in the world, I mean, I'd be pretty pissed if I paid $800 to watch that.
I'm glad I didn't.
But he's just doing what he's got to do. You know, he just wanted to win, so he was going to win.
That's okay. He'll call Seth Rollins tomorrow. He'll make him feel all better because they're buddies.
There you go.
Right.
All right, so Mike, you want to give us your thoughts on the Brock Lesnar fight? I mean, we touched on it earlier, but your thoughts on the technique of the fight?
It was a lot slower paced than I expected. Mark Hunt is usually a very dynamic and explosive fighter who fights on his feet. He has one-punch knockout power, and I was very surprised how tentative he was going into this fight, not really trying to mix it up with Lesnar, getting taken down at will in the first round, just basically being Lesnar's chew toy for the whole first round.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was not expecting that. I was really disappointed that Mark Hunt didn't punch Lesnar even once in stand-up. Like, I didn't see any like decent strikes at all.
Well, he tried to, but Lesnar kept ducking out of the way.
They were just like feeling themselves out for like the whole, probably I would say 12 and a half minutes of the 15-minute fight, just dancing around. Because Lesnar was the same way. Lesnar was just extending his arm to show his reach advantage, and Hunt couldn't get anything going, and it was really disappointing. And man, I don't know. Shit, if I was Lesnar, I'd be embarrassed about my performance.
So you think he should be embarrassed? I mean, everyone's pretty much unanimously praising Brock for his performance, saying he came back and proved that he could still perform at that high level.
How is it performing? He did 2 takedowns and got super tired and barely could do it in the 3rd round.
Well, I mean, he did win. I mean, a lot of people were expecting him to lose that fight.
But did he really win the fight? I mean, it wasn't really a decisive win. He got 3 or 4 takedowns during the fight. Didn't get any real offense except for that last takedown where he was hammer fisting Mark Hunt. And yeah, I'd be really embarrassed. But then again, it's not me putting my ass on the line in there for like $10 or $12 million like Conor McGregor or Brock Lesnar. So,
yeah.
I mean, he won the fight. That was his objective. He didn't get embarrassed. And now on to SummerSlam to make even more money.
So, I mean, the key is that he's going to make not only a lot of money from this fight, but in the future with WWE and possibly UFC as well. I mean, it's really going to elevate his stock in both companies, really.
But I got to say, the thing that annoyed me the most is him coming out as a Canadian tonight.
Yeah, that, and he also came out to Enter Sandman. There was speculation that he might be coming out to his WWE music, but no, he came out to Enter Sandman, which was the theme he was using before during his first UFC run.
And he came out in Canadian gear and then cut one of the weirdest Brock Lesnar post-fight promos I've ever heard.
Well, it was weird because he was actually nice and not a jerk.
Dressed as a Canadian, telling everybody to get along and be nice. Even though during the whole fight week thing, people were asking him for pictures and stuff like the press, and he would just do the peace sign and walk out of the room.
He knows how to play the game.
Hey, man, I guess if you're making $12 million for 15 minutes work, more power to you.
Is that how much you think he's getting with all the bonuses and everything?
This is going to be the highest grossing UFC pay-per-view of all time, I think. I'm pretty sure he's going to make Conor McGregor numbers. And Conor McGregor got $10 million for his fight with Nate Diaz after all the pay-per-view bonuses.
Yeah. I mean, how does the breakdown work? I know they get the $2.5 million is the guarantee, and then how do you break down the rest of the money that he gets?
I think he gets $1 for between 100 and 300,000 buys, $2 for every buy that's 300,000 to 600,000. $3 for 600,000 to $1 million. I think it works out to where he's going to be getting $5 per pay-per-view buy.
And then, of course, the Reebok, that whole thing with the sponsorship too.
I don't think he made that much money. I think he got like $15,000 for that sponsorship. Nothing. Chump change.
Okay. But it doesn't matter because he's getting a boatload of money. It doesn't matter if it's $5 million or $10 million.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's not getting a performance of the night bonus. Let's just say that. Not getting the $50K bonus because
no shit.
God damn, that fight was so bad. I'm so pissed.
All right, well, real quick before we wrap this up, I'll let you guys talk about this, the main event, because I did not see it.
You should have stayed for the 2 minutes that it would have taken to watch it.
Might be traffic at least.
Fucking Miesha Tate, who is someone I have no respect for.
Yeah, never mind.
What?
Jeff,
I can't hear you.
Aaron was driving from Vancouver back to Portland.
Vancouver?
You can't hear me at all?
Vancouver, Washington, which is across the river, not Vancouver, British Columbia.
How far is Vancouver, Washington from where you live?
Like
okay.
20 minutes?
Well, see, that's half the drive that it would have been for me to go to the casino and watch it with an actual UFC fighter.
Yeah.
But the fights weren't over here until like 1:15.
Yeah, that's extremely late. I mean, for me, 10 o'clock is late. But anyways, go ahead and let's wrap this up. Your thoughts on the women's fight real quick?
Okay, so Miesha Tate is someone I really don't care for. Her personality is lacking. She's not genuine. She's like those people CM Punk talks about all the time on the podcast. She's disingenuine.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's really weird. It's like this title is cursed now that Ronda Rousey's lost it, because the person who beat Ronda Rousey was Holly Holm. And then Holly Holm defended, and her first title defense lost it to Miesha Tate. And now Miesha Tate lost it in her first title defense against Amanda Nunes.
What is this?
Amanda Nunes.
2000?
What?
This is WCW 2000?
I don't know, but, you know, nobody's defended the UFC men's heavyweight title more than 2 times. Like, it's cursed.
Yeah.
It's funny, though, because Amanda Nunes is someone who nobody thought would come in and bring it to Miesha. She destroyed her in under, like, 3.5 minutes. Like, she rocked her with some punches.
She broke her nose and then tapped her out in under 4 minutes. It was freaking ridiculous.
Well, she caught her with some clean shots, which dropped Miesha down, and that's when the blood started coming out of her nose. Miesha recovered and got up, but she really didn't recover. She was kind of wobbly. Amanda punched her again and knocked her down, and then they got into a scramble on the ground, and Amanda took her back and choked her out, and Miesha tapped. It was insane.
I just find it funny after all these years and all these fights that Ronda had where Miesha couldn't beat her 3 different times that Ronda works herself up so much for Holly Holm. She psychs her own self out, loses the fight, and then everybody since then has been a paper fucking champion. Now it's like, where's Ronda to restore the order from the chaos?
She's recovering from surgery, and she's taking time off.
And that's great, but meanwhile, the whole division's going apeshit.
Good. Let all these people have a claim to have the belt, but Ronda Rousey was the first UFC women's bantamweight champion. She's the only person to defend it successfully more than 1 time. So if there's any talk about any conversation, everybody knows Ronda Rousey is the kingpin of that division. Whether she lost to Holly Holm or not, everybody loses in MMA. I don't care who you are. It happens. And she got that one out of her system. She'll come back bigger and better.
Yeah,
Right.
like I said, she Holly Holm didn't beat her. She beat herself in that fight, and that's why the bantamweight division is so batshit crazy now.
I don't know. I'd say Holly Holm's foot pretty much beat Ronda Rousey when she kicked her in the face.
Well, she kicked her in the side of the ear and knocked her cold.
You need skill to do that.
Yeah. Mike, I want to ask you real
It's very
quick.
true. I'm not.
Jeff, go ahead. Say what you're going to say, and then I'm going to ask Mike one more question, then we'll sign off. Jeff, can you hear me?
Jeff, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't hear Aaron asking you the question.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, Mike, let me ask you about Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton at SummerSlam. We had talked about this last week. Do you think Randy Orton might possibly beat Brock Lesnar, or do you see Brock Lesnar keeping the momentum and definitely going over on Randy Orton at SummerSlam?
I mean, what are they going to say, though? Like, that Brock Lesnar beat a top 10 guy by laying on him for like a round and a half? I mean, they didn't do shit the second round. Are they going to show footage of Lesnar just laying on top of him? Because there's no shots of him punching him while they're standing.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if WWE is going to show any footage. I mean, they really don't need to. They could just show a still of Brock Lesnar with his hand raised. That's really all they need to do. But do you think Randy Orton can win at SummerSlam, or do you think it's better to keep...
I don't even think Randy Orton doesn't even need to win at this point. He's on the part-time schedule now, which he'll probably be on for the last few years of his career, probably the next 7 years.
Yeah.
He's trying to wind it down and do the big shows now. He didn't have a problem jobbing to Hogan when he was at the height of his popularity. I don't think he's going to have a problem jobbing to Lesnar.
Well, yeah, what I was telling Jeff earlier was that it seems like it would make more sense to have an up-and-coming star beat Brock Lesnar sometime down the line rather than have Randy Orton beat Brock Lesnar. It doesn't really make much sense because Randy Orton doesn't really need it at this stage of the game.
I would say having...
Well, we've been talking about that for a while, Aaron, as far as... Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, I don't know what happened there. Everyone's trying to chime in. Jeff, do you want to go ahead and finish what you were going to say?
I was trying to. We were talking about that for years about we should have an up and comer be the one to end the streak, and then Lesnar gets it. So it's like, does it really need to be up and comer? It needs to be somebody that needs a marketable, viable thing on their resume. It's like, okay, I beat Brock Lesnar when Brock Lesnar was kicking everybody's ass. It doesn't have to be an up and comer. It can be anybody.
All right, Mike, is there anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, like with the way they came up with beating the streak, how Lesnar was a legitimate threat, like if they got in a real fist fight, I think the same needs to be said for who needs to take out Lesnar.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be somebody legitimate, possibly with an MMA background, who can really beat up Brock Lesnar in a fight.
Alberto Del Rio?
Maybe Kurt Angle. Maybe Alberto Del Rio.
Well, Alberto Del Rio has an MMA background.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
There you go. That would be very interesting. Nakamura beating Brock Lesnar. That would be something else. But
he has an MMA background and could probably kick Brock Lesnar's ass.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with that. All right, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys for being on tonight. You can follow Jeff Meacham at twitter.com/_Jeff Meacham. You can follow Mike at twitter.com/UltimoNagel. Am I correct with that?
Yes.
All right. Any other plugs, Mike?
Yeah, I have the NTV intro finally done after a month of waiting. So there will be some XMV retros going up probably in the next week.
All right. What's your channel?
FTW Nage.
So that's on YouTube. And Jeff, any other plugs you have?
Nope, just your stuff.
All right. So make sure you keep following Talk Wrestling. Stay tuned to The Scoop if you dare. Watch Noah's videos where he's getting drunk and talking about UFC.
God, it's so annoying.
Yeah, Mike just has a terrible headache from that. So thank you guys all for watching, and we will see you guys next time.